Good evening and welcome to Sister to Sister Can We Talk? That's right, this is your girl Silk back again finally for 6 weeks of hot topics. Doc couldn't be here tonight. We wish her safe travels, but she will be back next week. Before we get down to the order of business, we like to welcome all of our international bikers and guests into the city of Richmond that are here for the bike marathon starting on tomorrow. We welcome you. We hope you enjoy the city. Be safe. We asking all Richmonders to embrace them and show them a good time in this city. We also have to give a shout out to that person who stole that bike at the Marriott. We need you to take that thing back. That is not a way to treat anyone, and especially a guest, until our home. Okay, so we definitely hope that that biker can recover their merchandise so we don't leave a bad impression. But we got a hot topic this evening, and before we get started, I want to introduce my brother, my friend, the pastor Darnell Caruthers of the Urban Serengeti from Chi-Town, Chicago. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And we're going to be talking about some things now. Again, anybody that's a follower of the show, any newfound friends, if you have a question or a comment, give us a call at 915-5202. Now, during the off season, I told y'all in the beginning, I'm all about education and enlightenment, and there's just been so much going on, Pastor, with the Sandra Bland situation, Tamir Rice situation, Freddie Gray situation, and we keep talking about these things, and we keep talking about people coming to the table with solutions, okay? But one of the things that Doc and I have said, before you could come to the table with a solution, you have to first recognize that there's a problem, okay? And we had a hot show. We are now on the radio now, so we had a hot show the other day, and we talked about this, and we talked about behind the mask of racism. And we do understand that discussing racism for all races is a touchy subject, but it's one that has to be discussed. We can't have any more Sandra Blands. We can't have any more Annette McGeechan, who just was murdered a couple of weeks ago in a mental situation. So we're going to, over the next 6 weeks, be talking about behind the mask of racism. We're going to be laying the foundation this evening. So there's going to be some education. There's going to be some enlightenment, but there's going to be some real talk. Right. Okay, and so I want to start off just by everybody that watches this show know that I do research and I do my notes. So I just want to share something, and then we're going to jump into this conversation. Right. And I said racism is not what most of us believe it to be. For over 400 years, African American people and people of color have been oppressed in a variety of ways, including slavery, genocide, violence, destruction, segregation, assassination, manipulation, and imprisonment. Many people believe that racism no longer exists on a large scale. However, oppression against people of color continues to occur physically and psychologically in America today. Over the next 6 weeks, we're going to be discussing the criminal justice system. We're going to discuss the education system, economics, entertainment, health, political, psychological, physical, religious, and social practice. Basically, Pastor, we're going to be discussing those systems that are put in place. One of the things that Doc and I talked about last year was the new Jim Crow. Okay, and one of the things that we're going to be talking about this year is the miseducation of the Negro. All right. Okay, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the American systems that are so ingrained in racism that almost every attempt to radically change the condition of people of color in this society has either led to an assassination or infiltration. Okay, and what I mean by that is the assassination of Dr. King and Malcolm X, the disbandment of the Black Panthers, and now the attack on Black Lives Matter. So we're going to talk about that. So let's start talking about racism. Let's talk about the history. Let's talk about the genocide. It started basically the genocide of the American Indians. I mean, Christopher Columbus sailed the ocean blue. Right. And then he stuck a flag in a land that belonged to somebody else. Mm-hmm. It all started there.
It was amazing because I remember even being a child when we were taught about Columbus and how he had arrived to America, and it was kind of funny to me because there were so many different images and so many different pictures of him arriving here, and I used to wonder who was he waving at?
Right.
If no one was here,
if no one was here, if he discovered it, who was he waving at?
Right. And so then again, that's just one example of how we have been taught to ignore not only our own identity and existence, you know, but we've been taught to give credit to any form of discovery, any form of contribution to the greater humanity, to Western culture. Western culture has tended to dominate everything as if they were the creators thereof, and history has proven that they are not. When you look at calendars, when you look at medicine, when you look at even instruments that deal with navigation, etc., and so on.
Correct.
But that's just what they do. They conquer, they take credit for things, and then they oppress. That is just their nature, it seems.
One of the things that we also realize is that, I mean, basically, historically, racism has been used to conquer and oppress a group of people. Okay, and I know when we were talking about racism the other day, it got really, really hot, and so hot the gentleman walked out of the studio. But one of the things that I jotted down was some of the questions, and I wanted to go over that because this is so important, because we hear some of these questions time and time again. So I want to dialogue about them. I want to talk about them. I want to get some input from you. And one of the things that we talked about, and I need to make this perfectly clear, this is not about white people bashing. This is not about building up one race over the other. This is about facts. This is about reality. This is about, in order for us to move forward and to start putting systems and new systems into place, someone has got to come to the table and put out the reality and then get everyone to talk. The fact of the matter is, in the United States of America, there is a thing as white privilege. We're going to be talking about that in great detail. That doesn't mean that I'm a racist because I have Caucasian relatives. Okay, I have a strong multi-diverse family, but as an African American, we have to practice the art of Sankofa, knowing where you come from to know where you're going.
Absolutely.
Okay, and so that's really, really important. So I want to talk about some of the myths that's out there. Again, if you have a question or a comment, you want to join into the conversation, 915-5202. This is your girl Silk sitting in with Pastor Caruthers, and we're going to hear about the urban Serengeti as well also. Okay. One of the questions that a caller called in and said, why do you guys always make everything about race?
I think what's interesting about that is that the very design of America is to psychologically create images and concerning neuroscience, you know, our brain responds to images. We see golden arches, we think McDonald's. We see the swoosh, we think Nike. How did Barbie become the barometer for beauty in America, for example, which means, or which is to be implied, that if you do not look like Barbie, then you're less than beautiful, because that has now been the narrative of the perfect 10. And so that plays a role in how people see themselves, you know, and how people respond to their own image, you understand? And so it's very necessary for us to look back again in the spirit of Sankofa and bring forth the images of ourselves as kings and queens, and not compare ourselves to Barbie. You know, you are no less beautiful than anyone else, and vice versa. I'm not a racist person myself. However, I'm very aware of the fact that America has used as its standard a European point of reference.
And let's talk about that, because one of the things that we talked about last season is that, you know, we started the show with footage from Ferguson, and I mean, we can pull so many different situations, but one of the things that I always explain to people is we can't expect a system to work for us that wasn't inclusive of us. It didn't include us. You know, everybody goes, well, we're in America and we have rights, and the Constitution says. The Constitution did not include us, okay, at all. It was written by European men for European men. It really didn't even include women.
Absolutely.
Okay, I mean, if you want to tell the truth and shame the devil, okay. And one of the things that I always tell people, the other thing is that, like, my response to them was, unfortunately, almost everything in this country is a result of racism or is influenced by it. We live in a society dominated by white supremacy. Those who carefully study racism will understand that every system in America is influenced by some form of racism. The next question was asked to me is, why are we only talking about racism against blacks and not other races?
I think that the African American community has been the most disenfranchised and oppressed of all. And still to this day, we are. Whenever you have silhouettes on gun ranges, in academies, police academies, FBI, CIA, whoever goes to have target practice, they're shooting at black silhouettes, which is to desensitize you. So it is not strange to me that the police have no problem shooting black men, because they do not associate a human being with that silhouette. They are trained to do that.
And even at the gun ranges now, we talked about this one day in general conversation, how gone to the gun range and you seen where you had a choice and over 50% of the people chose the black silhouette to shoot at, and no one ever thinks about that the mindset of, okay, and it's always shoot at the head. Shoot at the head. The people was like yelling, and I was just like,